Have you ever noticed how some days you feel completely in control of your reality, confident, aligned, and certain that your desires are on their way, only to wake up the next morning doubting everything? One day, you feel powerful, like the universe is bending to your will. The next, something triggers you. Reality doesn't shift as fast as you expected, and suddenly, you're stuck in the same old thoughts, reacting to the 3D, questioning if you're even doing this right. This is the exact reason so many people struggle to manifest consistently. They treat manifestation like an on and off switch, something they engage with when they want results but disconnect from when they're overwhelmed by their current reality. But here's the truth: manifestation is not something you do. It's a state you live in. And if you don't understand this, you'll always be chasing, always trying, always hoping, when in reality, all of this should be unfolding naturally for you. The biggest mistake people make is treating manifestation like a technique instead of a lifestyle. They affirm, visualize, and script when they need something. But once they step away from those practices, they revert to their old state, the one that created their current reality in the first place. Think about it. If you affirm every morning that you are wealthy but spend the rest of the day worrying about money, which state do you think is manifesting? It's not about the words you say for 5 minutes, it's about the assumptions you carry all the time. Your reality is not reflecting what you occasionally believe, it's reflecting what you consistently accept as true. Right now, you already have a dominant state of being. Whether you realize it or not, your mind automatically reinforces certain identities. You wake up knowing exactly who you are, whether that's someone who struggles with relationships, someone who always gets what they want, or someone who feels stuck. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to remind yourself. It's just there. That's why your reality doesn't shift. It's locked in by your dominant self-concept. This is where most people get stuck. They believe manifestation is something they do rather than something they live. They assume that if they put in effort for a short period, their desires will materialize, but they fail to see that their habitual state of being overrides temporary practices. It's not the 5-minute affirmations that shape your reality. It's the emotional and mental state you maintain throughout the day. If you are constantly battling doubts, feeling unworthy, or reacting to circumstances with frustration, then that is the state you are feeding, and that is the state that will continue to manifest in your life. Consider someone who wants to manifest love. They might spend time visualizing their ideal relationship, scripting about a wonderful partner, or repeating affirmations about being loved and desired. However, if their dominant state is loneliness, self-doubt, or unworthiness, then their reality will reflect that. Even if they temporarily feel good during their manifestation practice, their deep-seated assumptions about themselves and love will determine what shows up. The universe isn't responding to what you say in a moment of clarity. It's responding to what you consistently believe about yourself and life. The key is to embody the new state as if it were already true. If you were already wealthy, how would you think? How would you feel? How would you react to situations? If you were already in a loving relationship, how would you carry yourself? What kind of thoughts would be natural to you? The shift happens when these thoughts and feelings become second nature, when you no longer need to remind yourself to think a certain way because it has become your new baseline. This is why true manifestation requires a shift in identity. You can't just temporarily step into the version of yourself who has what they want, and then return to your old patterns. You have to fully become that version. That means catching yourself when you slip into old ways of thinking, refusing to indulge in doubts and fears, and consciously choosing the new reality over and over again until it feels natural. It's not about forcing it. It's about persisting in your new state until it becomes effortless. Manifestation isn't a one-time action. It's a continuous unfolding of who you are. When you fully embody the state of the person who already has their desire, reality has no choice but to reflect that back to you. Now, here's the part that changes everything. The people who manifest effortlessly aren't doing more techniques than you. They're not spending hours affirming or visualizing. They've simply stopped seeing themselves as someone who has to manifest, and instead, they just are. They aren't asking, where is it? When is it coming? Because in their world, it's already done. They aren't forcing belief. They've already assumed the state of the person who has it. That's why they don't worry, they don't chase, and they don't get stuck in the cycle of on-again, off-again manifestation. Their dominant assumption has shifted, so reality has no choice but to follow. And that's where you need to be. You need to stop acting like someone who is trying to manifest their desires and instead become the person who already has them. The problem most people face is that they still see themselves as the person who lacks. They still feel like they are on the outside looking in, hoping, waiting, and trying. But the ones who manifest effortlessly don't wait for proof. They don't wait to see results before they believe. They assume their new state as if it were an undeniable fact. And because of that, the external world adjusts to match. This is why so many people feel stuck. They are still operating from the perspective of I need to get there rather than I am already there. They treat manifestation as something external, something they need to work for, something that will come to them if they do enough techniques. But that mindset only reinforces the idea that they don't have it yet. And as long as you persist in this state of not having, reality will reflect that back to you. Look at the difference between someone who is naturally confident and someone who is trying to be confident. The first person doesn't have to remind themselves to act confident, they just are. They move through the world with certainty, not questioning if they are worthy or capable. The second person, however, is still in the process of trying to be confident, which means deep down, they still believe they are not. This difference in self-perception makes all the difference in their experiences. The same applies to manifestation. The moment you stop trying to manifest and simply become the version of yourself who already has what you want, everything changes. When you embody that state fully, it no longer feels like you're waiting for something. You no longer feel desperate or uncertain. It just is. This doesn't mean you ignore techniques altogether. It means you stop using them from a place of need. Instead of affirming to get something, you affirm because it reinforces who you already are. Instead of visualizing to make something happen, you visualize because it feels natural and enjoyable, like a memory. Your entire approach shifts from effort to embodiment. When you make this shift, you'll notice something incredible. You stop obsessing over results. You no longer feel the need to check if your manifestation is working because you already know it's done. The need to control, force, or manipulate reality disappears. You live from the end, and reality inevitably rearranges to match. Right now, you might have specific times where you sit down to manifest, whether that's affirming, visualizing, or scripting. But what happens the rest of the day? If your natural thought process is still filled with doubts, complaints, and reactions to the 3D, then you're reinforcing the opposite of what you want. You have to start weaving manifestation into your daily awareness. Not as a task, not as something external, but as your default mindset. When you catch yourself overanalyzing, stop. When you start looking for signs, remind yourself, it's already mine. When you feel resistance creeping in, shift back to knowing. Your dominant state of being has to be someone who already has it, not someone who is waiting for it to appear. The shift happens when you stop seeking proof, stop checking the 3D for validation, and instead assume that what you want is already yours. Because once that assumption solidifies, you no longer feel the need to force anything. You don't need to be scripting 24/7, but your internal dialogue needs to align with your new state. What do you tell yourself in idle moments? When you're brushing your teeth, scrolling through your phone, driving, what are you assuming about yourself and your life? Because that's what you're manifesting. If your default state is self-doubt, struggle, or waiting, then your reality will always reflect that. But if your default state is certainty, abundance, and already having, then that's what will show up, without you having to do anything extra. The version of you who already has your desire doesn't wake up doubting. They don't wonder if they're doing it right. They're not waiting. They just are. When you fully accept that it's already done, you stop needing proof. You stop checking the 3D. You stop questioning. And when you reach that point, reality has no choice but to confirm it for you. This is where the real transformation happens, when you stop needing to manifest and simply become the person who naturally attracts what they want. The reason manifestation has felt hard up until now is because you've been trying to make it happen instead of simply being the person for whom it naturally unfolds. The moment you stop needing to manifest, because you already know it's done, is the moment it starts happening effortlessly. This is what makes the difference between manifesting on and off versus manifesting all the time. Because when your state of being is aligned, you don't even have to think about it anymore. It just is. The reason so many people struggle with manifestation is that they are still operating from a mindset of getting rather than being. They constantly analyze, question, and doubt whether their desires are coming. They go back and forth between believing and worrying, between trusting and checking. This constant back and forth creates resistance because it keeps them in the state of not having. They are so focused on when their desires will manifest that they fail to recognize that the only thing keeping them from experiencing their desires is their attachment to the old version of themselves, the version that still believes it's not here yet. When you shift into a state of true alignment, everything becomes effortless. You don't spend your days worrying or wondering if it's going to work because you already know it's done. Think about how you experience things you take for granted in your life. You don't wake up wondering whether the sun will rise. You don't question if you are capable of walking or speaking your native language. These things are so deeply ingrained in your identity that you never even think about them. That's exactly how manifestation works when you fully align with your desires. It stops being something you try to achieve and becomes something that's simply. The easiest way to tell if you are in alignment is by how you feel. If you feel desperate, impatient, or frustrated, That's a sign you are still trying to get something rather than fully embodying the state of already having it. But when you feel relaxed, at peace, and certain, that's when you know you've fully stepped into the version of yourself who already has what they desire. This is why people who manifest effortlessly don't seem to struggle. It's not because they are luckier or more powerful than anyone else. It's because they have learned to let go of the need to control or force anything. They trust so deeply in their new state of being that their reality naturally conforms to it. They are not chasing their desires because they are already living as the person who has them. When you finally let go of the belief that you need to make manifestation happen, you will see just how naturally it unfolds. It was never meant to be hard. It only felt that way because you were standing in your own way. The moment you allow yourself to simply be, to exist in the state of already having, the struggle disappears, and manifestation becomes as natural as breathing. So if you're done with the cycle of feeling powerful one day and lost the next, make this decision now. Stop seeing manifestation as something you do. Stop waiting for proof. Stop treating it like a ritual. Decide that this is just who you are. When you wake up, step into the identity of someone who naturally gets what they want. Not someone who practices manifestation. Not someone who tries to shift their reality. Someone who already is the person they desire to be. This is the key difference between those who manifest with ease and those who struggle. The ones who succeed don't wake up questioning whether they are manifesting correctly. They don't worry about whether their techniques are working. They don't search for signs or obsess over timelines. They simply live as if their desires are already fulfilled. They don't play the game of waiting, they've already arrived. When you make this shift, you'll notice that the constant battle in your mind disappears. You won't feel the need to check if your reality is changing because you will know it already has. There's a calmness that comes with embodying the version of you that has what you want. You stop reacting to circumstances. You stop feeling desperate for things to shift. You start carrying yourself differently, more confidently, more assuredly, because deep down, you know you've already won. And this is where most people get stuck. They think they have to do more, affirm more, visualize more, script more to make manifestation work. But the truth is, none of those things will work if they are done from a state of lack. If you affirm with the energy of trying to convince yourself, you're still identifying as the person who doesn't have it yet. If you visualize but immediately go back to doubting, you're reinforcing the belief that your desire is still out of reach. Manifestation becomes effortless when you stop needing it to happen. That's when it actually does. The moment you release the struggle and fully step into the assumption that your desire is yours, reality has no choice but to align. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to wonder if it's coming. You simply live as if it's already here, and soon enough, it will be. This is why shifting your dominant self-concept is everything. It's not about forcing yourself to believe. It's about making the decision that this is just who you are now. The person who has love, wealth, success, happiness, it's not something outside of you. It's you, right now. So if you've been stuck in cycles of doubt, inconsistency, and frustration, this is your turning point. Right here, right now, you get to decide. Are you someone who is waiting to manifest their desires, or are you someone who already has them? The choice is yours. And if you're ready to go even deeper into how to shift realities instantly, then you need to watch my last video on parallel reality. It will change the way you see manifestation forever. Just click on the first video that now appears at the end of the screen.